Hello everyone, I'm here with new video, and as you can see on my screen, in this video we will be talking about SQL Server Reporting Services. So the short form is SSRS, and similar to this we have one more application and which is called Power BI Reporting Services, or you can just type PBRS as well. So sorry for the spelling mistake. So these are the two applications which I was talking about. So they both work similar, so there is no different. We have minute or very limited difference, so we'll be talking about that in future if I go deep into this Power BI report server or SSRS. But as per now, no matter if you are using SSRS or if you are using PBRS, both have similarities, or most of the things are exactly the same. In this video I'll show you how to install this SSRS or PBRS. Okay, so I will go with the SSRS installation, and if you want to go with PBRS, Power BI report server, you can do that as well. Okay, so in this video we will show you how to completely install and configure SQL Server Reporting Services. Okay, so this is the basic overview of SQL Server Reporting Service and Power BI report server. Okay, so in Power BI report server will install, it is similar to this as I told. I'll show you how to download the setup file within a minute. But before that, for most of you who don't know why this SSRS is used, so it is kind of reporting tool. So what I will do is, suppose you have one internal network, okay, and your internal network want a server where all the reports should be hosted and all the internal users can access that. Okay, so what we will do is, I will just take one dashboard, so I'll just put it here. Now suppose this is kind of dashboard, you have created one internal dashboard so that your users, or domain users or internal users, can view this report. So additionally I will put users here, so this is user 1, this is users 2, and we can have n number of users associated to one particular domain. Okay, so this is how where SSRS will come into picture, or PBRS. So this is our, I will put the domain as well here so that it should not be confusing. So this is the domain ktt.lab, and this particular machine will be hosted on some KTT, we'll call SQL VM BI dot KTT dot labs. Okay, so this is the VM where the fully qualified domain name for this VM. And once you host the SSRS application here, okay, in this particular thing, in this machine, so I'll just rename this as well so that it should not create any kind of confusion. So I'll just put it SSRS or PBRS. Okay, so this is the thing which I was talking about. So as you can see, in this particular VM on domain join machine, SSRS or PBRS is hosted. As soon as somebody creates a dashboard for this and you upload it to SSRS or PBRS, any user can internally access this particular reports using his credential or her credential. Okay, so this is how this thing works, SSRS or PBRS. So it is kind of BI tool, business intelligence tool, where you can create reports, or you can create dashboards, and internally you can distribute to your internal users so that they can view it. Okay, so this is how it works. Okay, so I hope until now you are familiar with that. So these are the users, this is the PBRS where it's hosted. So in this video I'll show you how this PBRS or SSRS works. Okay, I have just given a upper view of this, that how it is going to work, but we have a lot of things to do with this. Okay, so we'll be discussing in upcoming videos. For time being, you just think SSRS is kind of a Microsoft tool, on-prem tool, where we host reports or dashboards or any kind of other data elements where your users can internally access it. Okay, it's not like that just internal, but basically it was designed initially for internal, but in nowadays you can configure for outside the server as well. So we'll not be talking about that. It's just a basic overview how this SSRS or PBRS, how this is work. So coming to the point, how to install this SSRS in the VM. So first we have to download the SQL Server Reporting Services setup file. Okay, so you can just surf just search for SQL Server Reporting Services or SSRS, and click on the first link. What is SQL Server Reporting Services? You will be landed on this page. On the second line, on the first paragraph in the second line, you can see SQL Server 2022 Reporting Services. So at the time you're watching this video, so this is the latest version which Microsoft has released, the SQL Server Reporting Services 2022, and as you can see, this is the latest version, 7th 23 2024. So we'll hit download. Okay, so this is the first thing. And if you want to download for Power BI Report Server, this is the page. Similar way, you have to search for Power BI Report Server as well. Click on the first link. Once you click on the first link, you have to click on download free download free trial, or you can also just go with advanced download option. It will take you to another place similar to the SSRS, and this is the latest build. You can hit downloads. Okay, so both, as I told, both work similar ways, so I'm going with SSRS. Once you download the setup file, okay, after downloading the setup file, you have to copy this setup file to the machine where you want to host this SSRS or PBRS. Okay, so let's go to that machine. In my case, as you can see, this is my domain, so I want to install my SSRS in this machine, SQL BI1. Okay, so this is my RDP. So you have not if you are not aware how I have configured this domain, how I have set up this home lab, so you can just go through my YouTube channel. You will get all the details about this. Okay, as you can see, I have downloaded the setup file. So in my case, this is Power BI Report Builder, and one more, we have SQL Server Reporting Services. So this is the setup file, how it looks. So I'll just double click on that to install. So I'm in the VM where I want to install the SQL Server Reporting Services. I will hit run, and I'll just minimize this, just to not create any kind of confusion for us. So this is the first step. So you have to click on install reporting services, and this is the evaluation version. So make sure you use any kind of product key. The reason why I'm saying is, if you are using the evaluation version in your production or deployment scenarios, the thing what will happen is, after 180 days your server will completely stop. Okay, so many users or clients will complain to Microsoft saying that why they will not be even aware why this evaluation version got expired. By seeing the logs and all, we can get that, but customers or clients, most of the time, they will not be knowing. So make sure you select the developer or express edition, or you can go with product key as well. And if you go with all the features of enter product key will be available in developer as well, but as per Microsoft, it is not recommended. It is for developer, but to be honest, you can use this. This will not cause any kind of issue. Okay, so you can widely use this. So I'll go with developer version, and I will hit next. And if you have, as I mentioned, okay, let me explain one more thing here. If you have, see, when you purchase a SQL Server license, you can also give that product key here. So when you purchase a SQL Server license, the on-prem SQL Server, if you have a license, you can use that SQL Server license here. That will perfectly work fine. There is no issue at all. And if you don't have any SQL Server license, you can just purchase it from Microsoft. So I'll provide that link, so you can just go and download it. Or if you are using Power BI Report Server, then you can go with if you have Power BI license, under the global tenant setting, you can find the Power BI license key as well. I'll put that link as well. So meanwhile, I was just explaining what is this product key and how to get it. Okay, I hope you will be aware of this. If not, just I'll put the document on how to get the SQL Server license as well. So I'll go with developer edition, and I'll click next. Once I click, I have to submit, I have to accept the terms and condition. I will hit next, and install reporting services. I will hit next. Now by default, it will install in the SQL Server installation path where local disk C. But suppose if you want to make any changes, you can put it in local drive D, or any other location as well. But the problem occurs, sometimes, I don't know what happens with this machines, domain joined machine. It will just try to overlap in the backend, or something will happen, so that it will give you access denied error. It could be either uploading, it could be either accessing the reports, it could be NTLM authentication. Most of the time I have seen that. Okay, so make sure you install it on your local drive. So it is totally up to you. As per my knowledge and experience, I'm sharing my experience. So you can just install on the other location as well. It will not cause any problem, but as I told, it could sometime run into problem. Okay, so I'll just go with default installation. I'll select yes, and the installation has started. Let's see how much time it is going to take. So the similar way you can do for Power BI Report Server as well. There is no difference at all. Okay, so let's wait until the installation completes. So you can just visit my website, and I have included all the steps in that, so you can just take it forward, you know. So if you just go here and if you search for install Microsoft SQL Server install here, you know that SQL, and if you hit enter, you will get the SQL Server installation completed. I'll put this link as well in the description so that you can just directly come here. As you can see, SSRS or PBRS install or configure report server, so I have included all the steps, so you can just go through this and you can easily configure from here as well. Okay, so there is no different as I mentioned. Okay, let's go back to our server and let's see it has happened or not. I don't know why it is taking so long. Just we'll wait for some time and I'll just skip this video. So the installation has been complete. Now I will hit configure report server and I will proceed further with the setup wizard. So as you can see, now this is my machine name, so by default, you know, it will be on your machine name. If you want to change, you can just make the changes here, but I don't want to make any changes. I'll just leave it as default how it is. I'll hit connect, and once the connection happens, so this is, you know, our, as you can see, we have installed the developer version and this is our version details. And now the first thing which I will suggest you to do is go to web service URL and hit apply. Okay, so that user or anyone can access this particular URL and get the reports. Okay, just hit apply. So don't make any changes. If you want to make any changes in the virtual directory, you can do that. So it is up to you. You can, you know, however you have individual control over it, you can just give whatever URL you want to configure. In my case, I just configured the, you know, default URL. So this is the first thing. So it will use TCP/80 port. And if you have any HTTPS certificate, okay, HTTPS, you know, just for security purpose, you can use your HTTPS certificate as well. In my case, I don't have any certificate. I will make video on this HTTPS certificate as well in future, how to configure and how to make this work. But meanwhile, this is the, you know, basic installation of SSRS or PBRS. So first thing is done, web service URL. The second thing is web portal URL. You should come here and hit apply. So once you hit apply, your URLs will be configured. We have to not touch anything apart from this if you are new. Okay, and if you have very good knowledge on this, probably you can go ahead and play around with it, like, you know, subscription details. And if you want to configure email settings and all, SMTP server, if you have for your domain, you can do that as well. You know, like some you can send using this SSRS tool, you can send emails to your users or whomever you want by putting the alias, their alias. Okay, so we will not be discussing about this. So it just, we have to configure web service URL, web portal URL. This is done. And if you have service account, you can use service account. So in service account, if you are using service account, you can use any of the domain account or password. And if you are new to SSRS, I will probably say don't go with any kind of domain account, because once you select the domain account, all the SPNs and delegation you have to configure. So that is the reason. So for that, there will be a separate video how to configure Kerberos or NTLM. So meanwhile, you can use the built-in account. Even built-in account by default will have your delegations and SPN setup, okay, for the VM. So no need to worry about that. So service account, I think so you got the idea. Web service URL, you can hit OK, and as you can see, we have applied. Database will come back. Let's see, web portal URL, okay, both is configured. Now the last thing is left is database. Okay, so we'll click on change database, because the SSRS or PBRS will be hosted on some SQL. It can't create its own database. That is the reason. So I will hit create new report server database, and as you can see, it is taking the server name default as my, you know, VM name. Okay, but I don't have any SQL server installed in this machine. My SQL server, if you can see here, my SQL server is installed in SQL VM1. So if you see here, I will connect and show you. Probably I can't do that here. Okay, I'll go back to here, and what I will do is my SQL server is installed in the SQL VM1 machine. So I'll just change the name here to SQL VM1 slash. Okay, so this is my machine name. Now I will put the SQL server name. Okay, so my SQL is hosted on this VM, but it is named instance. That is the reason I can't just use the SQL server. I have did video on this as well, how to install SQL server, what is named instance, what is default instance, how to do connection and everything. So as you can see, I have put the server name, and now for the connection, you can use SQL server authentication, or you can use current user integrated security. What it means? It means that you can see this SQL BI admin. So with this account I have logged into this machine, that is the reason it is showing. But when I try to configure this and test connection, it will fail. Okay, the reason why it fails is this particular user, this particular, you can see, right, it doesn't have access to this VM1. Okay, so what I will do is I will go with SQL Server Authentication. Okay, and I will give my credentials here. So as you can see, I have given my credential, and when now I hit test connection, as you can see here. Okay, so this is how, you know, we have to do the test connection. And make sure you have all the permissions if you are going with the user account or default domain account. Okay, where whatever you have logged into this machine. So this is done. Now we'll hit next, and as you can see, the database will be created on that particular SQL. So what you want to name that particular database? Okay, if you, by default it will give name as report server, but I will be having multiple servers in future, so I want to recognize that what SSRS is installed in what machine and what DB is being used. So I'll just put here, you know, the machine name itself for better clarity. So report server, and in my case it is hosted on SQL BI1, so I'll give report server SQL BI1. So it will create two database on this server. Okay, on this server, as I was showing to you. Okay, one is TempDB. So TempDB will have all your transaction logs details. So, and report server will host all your reports and everything. Okay, we will be having multiple sessions on this, but for time being I was just explaining what kind of data or database will be created and how this works. Okay, so as I mentioned here, I am hosting this for SQL BI1. I have given the name. If you don't want to give, you can just go with default. So click on next, and now this is the step. So what credentials, now will be confused, what credential is this? Okay, so this credential is saying that what credential you want to give for report server so that it can communicate to that SQL server. Okay, so this is what it is saying. So either you can go with anti-service account. So by default the SSRS will be running with some service account in the backend. As a, if you see this particular I was talking about service account here. If I click here, we have virtual and network service account. So it is similar to that. It is same as that. So it is anti-service account where SSRS use in the backend to communicate with the VM. Okay, so you can just leave it as it is, or if you want to go, we have multiple options here as well. Either you can go with SQL Server, either you can go with Windows credential. Okay, so I will leave this as default, and I will hit next. And as you can see, it is hosted on different VM. That's what it is giving us caution. So I don't have any problem. I will hit OK, and everything is set it up. Now I will click on next to configure the report server database. As you can see, it is configuring. Let's see how long it is going to take. Just wait for this, and we'll see how this web service or web portal URL looks. Okay, we have one error. Let's have a look. What is this error about? So it is talking about Windows NT user or group not found. So I'll check this later. But before that, I will show you how to bypass this if you are getting this error. So you can just basically change to SQL Server Authentication, and you can give SA account here, and I will give here my credentials. Sorry, the username and password, and I'll hit next. And this time when I configure, I will not get any kind of error. So as you can see that now we don't have any kind of error. Now I will hit finish so that our report server should configure itself. Okay, so now as you can see, everything is configured. So I hope you got the idea about service account, web service URL, web portal URL, email settings. So email settings is nothing but you want to connect to your SMTP server so that you can send mail or data driven subscriptions on all those things. And execution account, so this is nothing much to discuss about this. Coming to encryption key, so this is the main thing which you have to be aware, that whenever you are doing some kind of setting or changes, make sure you take a backup of encryption key, because if the SSRS is in running state at certain point and something got broke, you can just revert back to the same point using this encryption key. So make sure you create a backup once everything is configured, and also the backup of DB so that we can easily restore. If you don't have the encryption key, then probably we have to reconfigure the SSRS. So that after that, what will happen is you will lose all your connection details and subscription details, and most of the time you will lose your server as well. Okay, So this is about encryption key. Subscription setting, you can set it up, but for time being it is not required. And coming to the last option is scale out deployment. So scale out deployment is nothing but kind of, you can say, load balancer. So what happens is, if you configure multiple SSRS in different VM, you can just connect it to the same report server database so that it will equally distribute the load. So that's all about these features. And if you have any other information required, you can just comment down, or you can just visit our site and put it your concern over the forum as well. I will just take it forward. So this is all about SSRS, and I will just browse the URL and show you. So most probably all your users or domain users will be browsing this particular URL. So I'll just browse and show you how this looks. Just go to this URL and hit http/, click on this link. You can't copy this, so you have to manually open this and select the browser. So I'll probably say go with Windows 10, the Microsoft Edge browser, because sometimes Internet Explorer will not show you the interface or UI of SSRS. That is the reason. Okay, so I'll hit OK. So as you can see, I have got one pop-up saying please provide the credentials. Okay, so I'll give the credentials here to authenticate to the report server. So once I get the credentials, as you can see, now I have successfully logged into my report server, and this is the interface where you see first time when you configure the report server URL. Okay, so this is the URL. As you can see, I have configured on my VM name. So SQL BI1 is my machine name, and the reports is the URL where it is connecting to. Okay, you can use the IP instead of this server name, or you can use the fully qualified domain name, or you can use the local host as well. Okay, anything will work fine. But when you are browsing from different VM or your client are browsing, they can't use local host, but they can use IP, fully qualified domain name, or host name to access this URL. Okay, so this is all about URLs. And suppose if you want to give a particular access to one of the domain user, you can just go to site settings and you can just go to security. Going to security, you have to click add groups or user, and you can give the domain name. Like suppose if you have domain, in my case KTT is my domain and the user is vsync, so I'll just give this and I will select the appropriate role and I will hit OK. Okay, so this is how you have to give permission. So this permission is global level. Okay, and if you want to give folder level or report level, so in my case I don't have any report here, that is the reason I can't show you. But if you want to give folder level, one particular folder, you can do here as well. Okay, add group on group or user. Here as you can see, this is my user, and as you can see we have different kind of permissions which you can give, either browser, either content manager, my report, publisher, or report builder. So these are the things you can give. So this is all about SQL Server Reporting Services. And when it comes to Power BI Report Server, it is exactly similar to this, but we have certain options here to publish to Power BI and all those things. Here also you can do that, but the easier way is with the Power BI. And also we have couple of changes as well, but we'll not be talking about that. So in this video we just discuss how to install and configure SSRS, SQL Server Reporting Services. And if you have any doubt or issues or problem, you can just feel free to comment down so that I can take it forward. I hope you like this video. For further more upcoming videos, you can just subscribe to my channel and stay tuned.